Thank you. But after lunch, Scott said, Jeff, you've got to keep them awake. You've got to, if you see anybody sleeping, then you failed. But this is a very cool time for me. I've been doing ASU for a long time, since we were over at ASU West. And back when class sizes were about 9 people. 9 people. That was it. That was just my smallest class the first semester I taught over there. And then we transitioned downtown. I still like the ASU West campus, Scott, but I know this one's okay, but ASU West was very, very nice. I was asked to talk about labor relations and leadership, and that's a topic that is near and dear to my heart, especially coming up through the ranks, to the rank of commander, but the other side of me is I've always had a very close tie to labor, and I saw that this relationship between the two was critical in my organization. But I'm here to tell you also there's some cost to that. My managers in the room, you know that if you're seen too close to labor and you're in management, that's a negative. And so I've had a little bit of both on that, but it is who I am. And there is a danger to that, but there's also a strength to that, because you embrace that side of who you are, and it is what it is. But I believe it's made me very successful in the organization, because when we needed to fix relationships with labor groups in some of the bureaus I've been sent to, it was because of that background also. So I'm just going to start off with something really basic. And this is actually going to go into the presentation I'm about to make. Ice cream. I'm going to start with ice cream, a topic that most of us like. If you don't, that's almost anti-American. I'm also, something in my background, I'm a naturalized citizen from Canada. I'm one of them, I know. I moved down here when I was 12, but I'm a naturalized citizen from Canada. I'm going to just start off with, how many in this room like chocolate ice cream? Please show hands, please, if you like it. Okay, and look around the rest of us. Holy smokes. Okay, so then the next one, I see where you think I'm going to go, is vanilla. How many vanilla? Okay, and you can't raise your hand twice, by the way. Spencer, put your hand down. Okay. I know, but that's okay. That's clarifying it. Now, just stop there for a second and think about that. Okay, now that I like chocolate, does that mean I dislike the people who like vanilla? Because I like vanilla, does that mean I dislike the people who like chocolate? Those absolute distinctions there, you can actually take that into life and say, and ice cream being such a silly example, no, it's okay if you like vanilla. It's okay if I like chocolate. I mean, so it's just an absolute basic premise, but when you build it from that and you start going, well, why isn't life like that? Why can't I respect the fact that you like chocolate and I like vanilla? That transition is a lot harder when we put it over management, we put it over life, we put it over politics, because we're very unaccepting of somebody who's so opposite of us on the other side. Well, welcome to my world, labor and management. In my organization, I'm going to pick on this for a second, we've had a rough time as of late. The argument between labor and management in my organization has been nuclear. They dropped the nuke. We've all been fighting in the fallout. We're all going to die. We realize we're going to die, but we're fighting in the fallout. And one of two things was going to happen in that relationship. The union president was going to go, or the police chief was going to go. And we know what happened. Jack, and I'm going to tell you bluntly and frankly, I'm an FOJ. I'm a friend of Jack. And so we, in his command staff, had been giving him advice for the last 2 years. Something's going to break here. Something's going to break here. And I'm sorry that it did finally break, but that's kind of where I'm going to go today, is talk about some of those issues and some of those intertwining issues that I think, well, I'm going to offer just my perspective. And when I sent my bio in, I did have 31, but May 14th was my 32nd. So I'm off probation now. So it's very cool. It's very cool. I put this up here. So there's going to be a couple threads that are going to work through this presentation. Is that and some personal philosophy. There's going to be some subjectiveness to some of the things I'm going to say, and I'll try to balance it with some objective fact. But in management and leadership, truly, one generation plants the trees, the other one gets the shade. What we set in motion what we set in motion is going to live long after we're done. My organization embraced a concept called enlightened leadership about 15 years ago. Doug Krug, Ed Oakley. A very simplistic concept. I'm going to allude to it here today. And one of the things that they say in their book is, what do you want people to say at your funeral? Well, that's a little too morbid for me. So I'm going to back it up and say, what do you want people to say about you when you leave the assignment that you're in? Come up and shake your hand and say, my God, I'm going to miss you. Or I can't wait till you leave. And so I guess, is there a happy balance in there somewhere? I think there actually is. But I use this very basic premise because I actually do a class for the union. Is that I go in and I do a class for the union reps and I share with them management's philosophy. Really? Is there such a thing? I go, yeah, let's start right here. And this is one of the things that I try to say to my peers, do your people know what your leadership style is? Okay, let's make it more personal than that. Can you describe what your leadership style is? Now, some of us will say, well, I'm participatory, or I'm this, or I'm that. And what you drilled down into is like the perfect setup for where I'm about to go, is having that ability to do that assessment of self. I bet that 360 was rather a dangerous thing to do. We did that once in my organization. And it was so painful for our execs that they never did it again. It was like done, over. But can you describe this? Can you, and this is something as you leave here today, I just kind of ask you, can you? So does the people that work for you, can they absolutely say what your leadership style is? And can you say that back to them so you both agree on it? Yeah, I can describe mine. I'm very much a consensus builder, a centrist. Somebody who tries to let both sides save face. And I embrace enlightened leadership. That's my philosophy. But how about your problem-solving model? I'm in awe. When I got to say I was going to come up here and do this presentation on the same day, can I hug you, by the way? Thank you. It's like, oh my God, you guys. My problem-solving model I've embraced for my entire career is Sarah and broken windows. Stop. In 2004 through 2007, I had this precinct, and we were responsible, the team I had, we were responsible for cleaning up downtown Phoenix so that they could put the ASU campus here. The other thing I was told is, Jeff, you got to clean up Van Buren. We don't want to see any prostitutes out there again. I go, oh, great. But what we did is we embraced Sarah and broken windows, and we took one street, one block back at a time over a 3-year period, and now you've got the benefits of that. But the key to this is, can you describe your problem-solving model? And for my academics in the room, there's so many to choose from. Use Cotter's, use Deming's, use Goldstein's. There's so many different models, but I'm a very Forrest Gumpish type of guy. Keep it simple, stupid. I actually have that hat. And so I like Sarah, and I'm going to throw that in a number of places as I go through this presentation because, and I'm glad you said, that until we figure it out in management and law enforcement that the answers are at the bottom, the line level officers have the answers, that's it. I tell you, my agency's embraced it. That's it. That's part of the problem-solving model that we're going to, I'll just stop here for a second, because please. And the nice thing about being right after lunch is raise your hand, throw out a question. But in the area of, I'm just going to throw out in Sarah, scanning. In our agency, we've embraced that before you move forward in any project, you listen to the line level, that's 1/3. You listen to them, all 3 shifts. Any detectives that are involved, any specialty units, that's one of the source that you seek input from. The next one's the community. The impact, the neighborhood I'm about to go in as an occupation army, I want to be going as an invited person as opposed to an occupation army. The third one is management. Management's role is just a facilitator. If you do problem solving and you drive it down, why would I want to go out and help you if you just told me what to do rather than ask me what to do? And once we figured that out in my organization, oh my gosh, are we there totally? No. I'm going to be bluntly honest. I'd say the majority of us are, but there's still a significant number of us that are not. That's, again, the students over here, welcome to the real world. We wish they'd all get there, but they're not quite there. And then I throw up here, especially my managers in the room, this is huge with labor. What listening model do you embrace? I love Dr. George Thompson's LEAPS listen, empathize, ask questions, paraphrase, summarize. We use it in our dispatch center because we take about 2 million calls a year. That's 911, Crime Stop, all those different calls that come in. We cannot mess up a conversation. So if we take that so serious on the Crime Stop, the 911 side, why shouldn't we as managers embrace that? Well, when you come back to it, so you throw these up here. Labor's asking for our leadership from these insights. They're asking. So when we sit down with the reps, the union reps in our precinct divide, which I have 4. Now I have an interesting precinct. I've got 4 union reps for the representative union, which is plea. And Kevin, how many FOP reps do we have? Another 6? 8? I have 2 conflicting unions in my precinct. Well, guess what? That was the most important thing. The first couple weeks I got there was make sure that both sides knew this about me. And they already did before I got there, but they need to hear it from us too. And it's absolutely critical. So I'm going to say, as you leave here today, I'm going to give you one of those things to take with you. As you're driving home today, reflect on these 3, please. There won't be an oral board that you'll ever fail if you remember that. And you can describe and articulate that out. Especially on the problem-solving side, because there's no, truly, even though I'm using Sarah as an example, and I do it here also, Sarah, it doesn't matter what profession you're in. Now, he mentioned my doctorates in education. It's so funny. I go and I teach these teachers. I don't tell them what I do, and I purposely leave my bio off when I have a teacher audience. So I don't want them to know that a cop's about to teach teachers on education and leadership. And so I don't tell them. But the first night, and by the end of the night, they go, "Hey, Jeff, you didn't tell us what you do." I go, "Oh, I'm a cop." "And you're going to teach us about education and leadership?" I said, no, stop for a second. If you go back to this very basic thing here and you start talking about this model and you throw out under scanning as just input from those 3 levels, it doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, it's education, it doesn't matter what field it's in, it's the template that works for everything. And they go, "Oh my God," and you get the hook in them and you got them. So I also ask you yourselves, because labor knows what your weaknesses are. And don't they poke at them, pick at them? And if they've got a paper or a website, don't they put it right out there so the whole world sees it? Yeah. So the other side of it is know what pieces are missing from your puzzle and embrace them. It goes back to, I love your 360. Oh my God, talk about you'd know it, wouldn't you? Not only above, peers, below. Wow. It's pretty amazing. But I'm just going to stop for a second, because especially after lunch, I told Scott I was about to do this, so we'll see what he says after I do it. I think he's worried now. Okay, look at the top first. It says, "Stay focused. You can work your way out of most relationship issues. So hang in there. Okay, mouse, trap, cheese. This does not look like it's going to end well, does it? This looks like it's going to end badly. Same thing with relationships. They can end badly. Or there's a point that this happens. Okay, there's a point that this can happen. Oh my gosh, holy smokes, do I have a little mouse hanging on a trap? Yes, I do. I'm sorry for my students over here. Okay, now you have a choice in your relationship. You lay there and you say, "Oh, poor me. Oh, poor us." And you withdraw from it, or you do what this little mouse is about to do, and you lift the darn thing off you, and you just kind of come right out of it, and you say, "Oh my God, I can get out of this." Because I truly believe you can work your way out of any issue that you are facing. Any issue. Isn't this just wrong? It is just so wrong. I know. Go, little mouse. Go. Go, little mouse. Because there is an impasse. And the impasse that you're going to face is the next thing I'm going to go to, is that if you lay there, managers, we have to check our egos, our demeanors. They're going to throw things at us. You got to be presidential. You can't let it stick. So you look at them and you say, "Ouch, that really hurt. That article you did on me, ouch. But I'm not going to end my relationship with you over an issue." Okay, I'll say that again. I'm not going to end my relationship with you over an issue, even if you've thrown a bomb at me. I'm going to lay there for a minute. I'm going to go, ouch. I'm going to say, this really hurts. I can't breathe right now, but I'm not going to end my relationship. So what do? I step back from it. And there's been times I've been really mad at labor, really mad at labor. So I let it sit a week. Sometimes I let it sit 2. But I always have that ability to pick up that phone, and then when I'm ready to tease, I say, man, that wasn't nice. We can't let it stick to us. Labor doesn't believe that, though, do they? They're willing to sever our relationship with them over an issue. Okay, because here's what happens, this gap. This gap in labor management relationships is huge. And how wide are you going to let that gap get? Does it keep growing? Or are you going to have the ability to close that gap? This is something that we're constantly fighting with. I can tell you that the past union relationship we had with our chief, there was hardly a gap at all. As a matter of fact, there probably was many breakfast meetings, after work meetings. They'd go have coffee. That gap was next to nothing. Here recently, though, the gap's huge. So the we're, as an organization, are wrestling with is how do we go back to closing this gap? Because there is a clear, distinct difference between what's important to us and labor, isn't there? There really is. With us, it's very clear. Community first, organization second, individual third. By the way, that is a Jack Harris saying. Community first, organization second, individual, me third. Labor doesn't see it that way, do they? Now, maybe we'll all agree on the community part, but the rights of the individual in a lot of cases outweighs in their representation the right of the organization. So there's going to be that, and it's going to go up and close, but that's just something that we have to constantly work on. At least that's my suggestion. I throw this up, I just, for the academics in the room, I got to have a base to start from. So I throw up this leadership model. Arizona has embraced the West Point leadership. We call it the LPO model here in Arizona. Is there anybody from Arizona Post here today? Did I see Lyle? Was Lyle here today? Didn't see him? Okay. Well, I also think it's important that labor understands what our definition of leadership is. And if you look at this one here, it's influencing human behavior, got it? But to achieve organizational goals. So right up front, we're achieving organizational goals. To serve the public, go back, community, organization, individual. Well, developing individuals, teams, and the organization for the future. Because if we don't and we're constantly battling, then we're reacting and we're back on our heels. I've learned in my career I'm going to make you react to me. I don't want to react to you. Same thing with labor. I want you to react to me. I don't want to be reacting to you. So I keep them on their heels by just keep this access to them. A guy named Benny Click years ago taught me that trait. Jeff, step into the conflict. Don't step away from it. So when somebody tells or throws that bomb at you, step into it and address it. And don't be afraid, even though they say mean and hurtful things, which sometimes happens. And so you just kind of, you get through it. Setting the tone in the organization. How many of you in this room have seen the Liberty Mutual commercials? It ends with the theme of kindness. Now I'm going to lose some points on this one, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I want to get you the theme here. The Liberty Mutual commercial series is that if you see an act of kindness, then you're obligated to pay it forward. And it's not just you, it's everybody that sees this. Can you see the point where I'm going with this? Okay. If the line level sees management and labor crushing blows and going head to head, what are they seeing? Negative. It permeates the organization. Okay, same thing with this, and I don't mean to be so simplistic, but I'm going to punch you right between the eyes with this. We as leaders in this room set that theme for where we're going to go. So as you walk in, if I don't say good morning to you or how you doing or whatever, and I don't permeate that through, and I'm not saying everybody gets a hug from me, I'm not saying that at all, but that theme, that positive theme, that relationship theme, understanding what my leadership model, my problem model, so I'm like a book. It's synergistic. It radiates through your organization. It's an amazing thing. It's a very simplistic concept. It's very Forrest Gumpish, But I'm telling you, Liberty Mutual figured it out with this. I wrote them a letter and asked them for all their commercials that they use in training. They sent me a CD with them all, and so I have permission to use them. And I just loved their theme because they captured it. So just watch how this plays out. That's my favorite one. If I got my students to do that, I would make them.
When it's people who do the right thing, they call it being responsible. When it's an insurance company, they call it serving.
You got it, right? Liberty Mutual. So now you're going to watch those commercials. You go, yeah, I think I get it. It's one of those ones, though, if you're trying to instill that sense, especially in the classes that you're teaching, is that I do it with the students I have. I say, hey, tonight when you go home, when somebody needs to get out, just stop, let them out. Just let them out. It starts small, it really does. The same thing with the supervisors and the second level and the third level that we have. If this radiates through your organization, it's amazing the impact that you have. It really is. Okay, here's the next one, because a lot in our area, we cannot articulate the difference between the two of these. We can't. A significant number. I'm not going to pick on you, but since you're sitting there. And we did this in an oral board a few years ago. Describe to us the difference between management and leadership. What's the same? No, it's not. I'm here to tell you, labor can. Labor can. Labor absolutely and distinctly knows which one of us are on the management side, and that we're hard process maps, tools, procedures that we cross the T's, dot the I's, that we're on this side of the scale. I mean, I love Blake and Moulton's managerial grid stuff from 1984. It very distinctly puts you on one side, the people side, or the task side. It's a simplistic model, but it does illustrate that. And then the soft side, the leadership side, is the people issues, the attitudes, the partnerships, the buy-in. Okay, it's interesting. When I took that assessment, I was off the scale on the task side. Well, people say, well, Jeff, you're over here on the people side. Now, that's silent side of me, the task side of me. The type A personality side is off the scale. But I'm here to tell you, labor knows this about us. So shouldn't we know this about ourselves? So this is, you're starting to connect the dots and where I'm going with this stuff is that assessment of self, because they know. Celebrate who you are. I'm not saying you need to change. I'm not saying you need to be like me. Be like you, but be very, very distinct in what you are. So they absolutely know that about us. I mean, I throw a couple ones up here. The opening one I throw, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, but most guys know what this movie is. What's this movie? Patton. This is the scene where he walks up. He's in that full dress. When I think of the autocratic leader, I think of George Patton. Anybody else? Absolutely. I'm just going to stop it as soon as he gets up here so you can see him. 1972, George Scott. I did share with you I'm a naturalized citizen. The way I learned about the system, because I took my naturalization test when I was 18, is I learned and I studied government, and I have a very clear, distinct appreciation for the three branches of government, but also learned about the history of our country through the wars. Guy, silly me, I studied them all, I don't know. It was actually just kind of a thing. So when I think of autocratic leader, there he is. Absolutely. Now, I just throw that out there because we're tagged with these different tags, and we're tagged with these. But the big question for organizations is, okay, Jeff, got it. We have some of us that are autocratic. We have some of us that are on the other side of the scale. We got it. I'm going to suggest to you is that you do some type of an assessment. Bar, you couldn't have set my presentation up any better. That was a 2-year transition, the 360, where they saw some issues in the organization, and they saw that they needed, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, they saw a possible need for a shift, organizational shift, and focused on it. Am I close? Okay. Because the old adage, I get this a lot in class as well, leaders are born. No, they're not. Stop. Research doesn't support that. I mean, there's some certain traits that leaders have. Sure, I'll give you that. But the military model right now, the West Point model is the people that they screen and send into that environment, they believe that they can train to be good leaders, solid leaders, 87% of them. that go. That's an amazing statistic. We can teach you skill sets. I can't teach attitude, but I can teach you skill sets. And so what the saying up here is that leadership's the same way. Because I'm telling you, labor's doing it. Labor's looking at all the different sides of the issues. I don't want to say to use against us, but to use, it's a stick we're giving them to beat us with. I go back to here. Granting formal authority does not make a person a leader. I spent 3 tours at our training academy. And one of the tours I spent at our training academy is that we were doing a block of instruction. I forget what the heck it was. I believe it's coming up in a couple slides. But we asked, a typical precinct has, 25, Rob, 26 sergeants, give or take. And we asked the audience, these are line level officers, out of those 25 sergeants, how many of those sergeants do you believe are competent that you would run through fire with? 25, let's just round down, 25. The constant answer I got, and I did 62 different blocks. There's some research for you. 62 different blocks was 3 to 5. Are you telling me in my organization, out of 25, you only believe that I'm going to round up 5 of them are competent? And you trust and you run through fire for? Huge, huge organizational shock. As a matter of fact, I passed that up the food chain. This is about 12 years ago. We started doing module training to address that and to see if we can't raise the competence level of our supervisors. Now, the next time we did the survey, it wasn't 25. It went up to like 7 to 10. So we kind of doubled it, but it still was pretty shocking to us. And so when you start looking at your organization, for my managers in the room, I'm going to shock you a little bit, is ask that question in the next survey you do. I think you're going to be shocked. I think you're going to be shocked. And then you have 2 choices. Do I address it or do I not? I love Norman Schwarzkopf. When I think of a warrior, I think of this guy. But here's a speech he gave.
So today, let's talk about leading people. We're enamored with our technology today. And we talk about organizations as if they're systems or their equipment or their offices or their factories or their computers or their financial institutions, or I don't know what else. But that's wrong. Organizations are people, and you lead people. You manage businesses, but you lead people.
Wow. If I was thinking of a taskmaster, that's the person who I would think of. Okay, so now let's drill down into the nuts and bolts of this thing, because I know we only have a certain amount of time, especially after lunch, and eventually Dan's going to put the hook on me. But let's just start and talk about this for a second, because I think this is very, very important, is that in every organization we're at, we have 3 different groups. Now, I've seen many different research models that are out there. These numbers change. We have about 10% that are exemplary. We have about 10% that are what you'd call your problem employee, and the rest is in the middle. Now, this could be 15, 15, 70. It could be different, but I think you're getting the point that I've got here. Because what ends up happening inside our organizations, don't we spend 90% of our time with those 10%? Yeah. We do in my organization. Do you? Yeah, I think we all do. What I'm going to suggest to you is you got to have, I throw up there the rule of 3, but have a rule that there's a point there that you're going to cut it hard, you're going to cut it clean, you're going to cut it deep. And you have those conversations with that person. I'm not saying that you're going to fire them. I'm not saying that you're going to do anything unethical to them, but I'm going to cut them off emotionally, but I'm going to tell them that I'm going to cut you off emotionally. And when you have that conversation with somebody, it's pretty blunt, especially when they hit 2 with me. It's, okay, man, you came to my precinct. Remember, this is a clean slate? You're on number 2 with me. I've got 2 complaints. I got a pending suit against you. 1 more, and our relationship is over. Well, Jeff, what does that mean? It means it's strictly business. I'm no longer going to put any personal capital into you. So you have 2 choices. You can stay in the precinct. I'm no longer going to let you come to my office and vent. I'm no longer going to let you to cause a scene. Emotionally, it's all business with you, so you can figure it out. My answer, go to the book. Your answer, go to the book. So I call it the rule of 3. Okay, in my entire career, following this rule, I've only had to do that 3 times. My last precinct, I was the Oakland Raiders of the Phoenix Police Department. Spence, what are the Oakland Raiders known for? Players people didn't want, right? Okay. I was the Oakland Raiders of Phoenix Police Department. I had 19 employees in 3 years come to my precinct that were sent there to be saved or to let go. I had 2 that hit the rule of 3. One young man to make the point, and this is that courage to confront, the courage to communicate, organizational courage. So one young man, I brought him in and said, hey man, remember the conversation we had about a month ago about you being on 2? He says, yeah, Jeff, I remember. I said, you're on 3, and here's the reason why. I'm about to send you to Cactus Park. I think they're going to put you up in a beat by Lake Pleasant. But I want you to know how serious this is. I'm giving up your position and your position number to that precinct. He goes, what does that mean? I'm giving you away for nothing. I get nothing in return for you going there. Well, why would you do that? Remember my rule of 3? So even though we're talking about all these other things, you've got put in the back of your mind, you can't, even though they're consensus, you've still got to go right sometimes, but you also got to go left sometimes too. So the consensus position, the rule of 3, and knowing that we deal with this. I'm sorry, I love this spare.com. When do you give up on them, or do you? If you can't read this, it says pessimism. Every dark cloud has a silver lining, but lightning kills hundreds of people each year who are trying to find it. Yes, they do. Yes, there is a point that you give up on them. Because if you don't, what ends up happening inside the organization is the momentum of that 10% builds, because that group in the middle gets sucked to the dark side. And if you can't start pulling them to the good side, the theme, go back to that Liberty Mutual commercial, if I can pull them to the good side, it weakens the power base of that 10% on the other side. Labor knows this. And again, I'm a visual learner, and I like that there too. The 2 dinosaurs are sitting there and says, oh crap, was that today? The ark's going off, I know. One of the things you'll find if you were in one of my classes, my humor sucks. I know that, it does, it just plain does. But we throw different things up there. So where do you want your organization, or where are your organizational expectations? Where do you set those relationship boundaries at? I'm just saying that I'm putting my academic hat on for a second and saying you've got to explore these things. My manager's in the room. This is Leadership 101, isn't it? Yeah? And if you haven't got this in your organization, Post has a lot of this material. I'm sorry somebody from Post isn't here, Scott, because this is material that they teach, and a lot of this is what I've grabbed from their stuff, and I've taught it for years. Or No Issues Worth a Relationship, or is it? I put that up there a second time, because this has to be the base for us. I'm not going to give my relationship up with you over an issue. So if I know it's so important to you, and I know labor, this is so important to you, I'm going to try to find consensus somewhere. Okay, consensus. Can that be interpreted as weakness again? Yeah. I'm going to find consensus with you somewhere. And I'm not going to give it to you every time, because I'm going to remind you the second or third thing you bring to me. Hey man, remember those 2 last week? Yeah, Jeff, I do. I can't go there on this one. Policy says this, I can't get you there. But then again, that relationship that's established with them, you turn it back around on them, and they go, okay, got it. Okay, there's the old adage. It's all about relationships. Yeah? But we have to be above the fray. Absolutely. I mean, I throw this. Sorry, I like Larson. It says here, okay, everybody just calm down. We'll try this thing one more time. Managers, the style that you're utilizing is not working, so try something else. And if you're laying there with that bar on your neck and it's not working, I've got to think of somewhere else to be, because it's just not there. I know there's some non-Cowboys fans out there, and there are some Cowboy fans out there. So when I cite somebody like Tom Landry, I like this here. Leadership is about having people look at you and gain confidence, seeing how you react. If you're in control, they're in control. When I see this, anybody here from Chandler, by the way? Chandler PD? This is Sherry Kyler. Sherry Kyler was one of my mentors coming through. Sherry Kyler worked our duty command for 4 years. She was a homicide lieutenant for 8 years. Sherry would show up on a scene, plant herself there, and even though it's chaotic and fluid, we would come to her and go back. You look over your shoulder and you'd see Sherry there. You go, cool, Sherry's there. Okay, now? A different person would show up. You look over your shoulder, you go, oh God, he's here or she's here. And so what I'm saying, though, is this here should be, again, one of those basic premises for us, because, again, this is one of those huge things that labor is going to ask. I'm looking at my time here, Scott. How am I doing? Because I'm about to jump ahead. Okay. I really prepared. It's funny, when I talked to Dan, I said, Dan, how much time do I have? And he goes, well, Jeff, how much do you need? I go, I don't know. I could be up here for 8 hours if you leave me. He said, no, Jeff, you do not have 8 hours. So I love this here. What do employees expect from us? Think of your 3 closest friends, 1 out of 4 people in this country is mentally unbalanced. Think of your 3 closest friends. If they seem okay, then you're the one. Because this is about to go where I'm going next. Because Dr. Steve Hennessy, another one of my mentors, I know that's just wrong, isn't it? That's just so wrong. Steve Hennessy was our on-staff academic at the academy. My agency, our agency, and those in the room, Steve took us from okay to what I would call, when Steve was there, great. He had this incredible belief in education. We put over 350 people through master's programs. There's about 4 of us that went through for doc programs as a result of Steve Hennessy. But what Hennessy had the tendency of doing is making us look at each other, looking at ourselves. And so what Steve did in this study is he looked at 650 people from all different ranks. And he asked us leadership characteristics that employees want to see in their boss. And then Steve even drilled down to it by officer, by sergeant, by command staff level. And this was the list that our employees want from bosses. Well, here's what our employees is labor. This is what our employees want from us. Does anybody have a problem with that list? Anything up there that just jumps off the page at you that should be added to it or taken away from it? Okay, because here's the next slide. Steve asked the supervisors the same question. Oh my God, that list looks the same. There's a couple different words, there's a couple different action words that are different, but holy smokes. So, why is there a disconnect, then, between labor and management if we all want the same thing? Why is there a disconnect? I don't have the answers for that, totally. Other than I'm a huge believer in education and training. I'm a huge believer in role models. I'm a huge believer in organizational mentors. And so, I don't know, but there's no difference. We all want the same thing. Wow. So now, I throw this up here again, just the management. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. The theme throughout this entire presentation is this. But I'm just going to stop for a second because I'm really curious out there in the audience before I go to this next one. I'm really curious about this audience. If you had to reflect on your relationship right now with labor, don't want to show hands unless you want to share. Is it as bad as ours right now? Anybody else? I got a yes. What agency, if you'd share? Kearney PD? Okay. How are you going? Are you in the process of trying to resolve it, or are you at an impasse right now? Yes. There is a generational block that Arizona Post does. I think it's critical, especially if you look at the 4 different blocks that the people in our profession are drawn to and drawn from, is that how we supervise them. And this new group that's out there makes us a little crazy. That's older ones. I'll be 54 in August, so it makes us a little crazy. I just go, I don't get it. Yes, sir. Are they together or are they in opposition? They're opposition. So as management, do you try to be a neutral centrist? I'm hoping, suggesting. Yeah. But we have to enforce and manage, we have to force the rules so that one doesn't cross over the other's boundaries. One's the representative unit, the other one is more social. And so we have to make sure that those boundaries are clearly there. Yeah. a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, where would you put it right now? Okay, wow. I hope what this does, though, is this little block does, it just causes you to leave here starting to reflect on some of these things that we're throwing up and some of the things that we've all talked about here today. So as you leave here, I'm hoping that it starts that process and you say, you know what, I think I need to drill down into that a little bit more. I think I need to reach out to Barbara and find out how she did that 360. The master here, we just pulled out any one of his books and we got that. But there's so many different mechanisms out there to use, and I'm going to even look over there at Scott and say, I bet you got grad students that would like to help us with some type of surveys that are inside our organizations. And the grad students are going, thesis, dissertation, absolutely, those different things that are out there. I'm just going to poke at us for just a second because some of us, it's so funny, I've heard members of my peer group say that they're good listeners, and I'll look at them and I go, really? Really? And when I think of Dr. House, this is one of the cutest ones I've found, and I searched for a day to find this one. But Dr. House, when I think of him, he's not very much a communicator, is he? Okay, here he is.
They said they'd fix it, but it didn't make any difference at all.
Well, sometimes doctors make mistakes. Anna, you need to try twice as hard to fix them. You're using your inhaler?
All the time. Go through one a week.
Sure you're using it right?
Do I look like an idiot?
No. Why don't you show me how your inhaler works?
Are you a good listener? I think Barbara was saying that active listening is something that, and if I say it wrong, please jump in, but active listening is one of the traits that she was trying to instill in her command staff and throughout her organization. I wasn't sure if you said you struggled with that initially, but you're now fighting to get there?
I actually said that about myself.
Oh, about yourself.
But more about me.
Okay. It's not an easy thing to do, but it goes back to that we think we are and we're really not. And so sometimes to seek out that advice is critical. I throw this up here because everything you can tell, you can ask people. So we start by being a good listener. So the piece just before that is this is huge. You're starting to see I'm connecting the dots. I'm going back to my second slide. What listening model do you embrace? If you don't want to use leaps, find one. If it's an active listening model, use it, embrace it, make it part of your personality. Because the greatest complaint labor has of us in this room is that we don't listen to them. And we're unapproachable. In my peer group, they'll say, well, they have access to me. And I'll ask the union guy, and they'll say, no, shoot, he never returns my calls. He doesn't want to talk to me. When he talks to me, he's talking at me. He's telling me. He's not asking me. So then I go back to, I'm sorry, I put on my little academic hat. Then I go back to my problem-solving model of Sarah. Wow. And it is kind of interesting because being a good listener, and I was trying to find an example, and I love Will Rogers' stuff, and I have to put this one in here. I'll throw it up here for you, and I'll just kind of read through it with you. After eating an entire bull, a mountain lion felt so good he started roaring. He kept it up till a hunter came along and shot him. The moral, when you're full of bull, keep your mouth shut. And part of the listening part is that this is huge, is that, again, in problem solving, it's a line level, but I can almost guarantee, and don't hand sit on them, don't raise it up. Think in your own organization, most action plans, most programs, most things we do are pushed down. The boss says it, and it's pushed down. Okay. Wow. And so rather than when somebody, and I think, and Barbara, I loved your presentation, by the way, thank you. But one of the things I picked up on is that she said I have to stop finishing sentences that some people say. I think we all, bosses in this room, is we get impatient and we don't let them finish, and we finish the thought, and then we tell them what they were about to say to us. Okay. So I mean, I'm slowing down and I'm going and I'm looking down at my watch here, but I just think that it's just so huge. Quality of leaders, it reflected in the standard they set for themselves, and I just go back to the training model that we are, because without these things, labor sees us in this way. They see us dropping everything down. I'm sorry to be, that's a little graphic, I realize it, but I think it makes the academic point, it makes the point. Labor sees top down, and it shouldn't be that way. Well, it's just my subjective suggestion. I'm just throwing it out there for you. But I come back and I counter with it. It's a two-way street. Loyalty up, loyalty down. Respect for one's superiors and care for one's crew is something I learned from both Sherry Kyler and a guy named Benny Click, is the loyalty speech. And I even share this with the people who are part of the union that work in my precinct. And I give them this speech. I also give it to my supervisors. Is that I say, okay, we're going to passionately disagree on issues. But let's come behind closed doors. Let's have this discussion with the passion of your position. The passion of your position. You're probably going to be able to change my mind 3 out of 5 times. But the 2 out of 5 times that you don't, let's end it here. So when we go out the door, it's done. It's over. Now, labor takes that sometimes the way you've just described it, and sometimes they don't. And you end up reading about it in their union paper. But I'm here to tell you the staff that works for you, though, it's an absolute with them, your supervisory staff, is that one of the clips I almost used was from Saving Private Ryan. Remember the captain, as he's going through, he says, I can gripe up, but I can't gripe down. So having this philosophy through our organization is that our managers also need to have a very clear understanding of what we expect out of them also. So, wow, really, yeah. I throw this out here because I think this is one of those concepts that's really critical, and I want labor to know about this. I want labor to know it, and I tell them about this, and I tell them that we teach this to all supervisors, and when I do the block for them, I tell them we teach our supervisors this. It's a concept of organizational courage, and that both sides need to understand it, that I have a role as a supervisor. My leaders have a role. So if I'm walking down the hall and I hear you say something, I got to come over and deal with it. That's inappropriate. I got to deal with it right there on the spot. I say, hey man, can I talk to you? I can't ignore it, because if I walk by that and let that comment go unchallenged, what did I just do? I validated that comment, that story, that joke, that whatever. Or I'm walking by and I see somebody with their shoes that look like they've, in our profession, we shine our shoes, sorry. We just do. They're really nice and shiny, I know. Look down, I know they are. But we walk by and I see something that's out of place, is that we have to have an understanding that I'm going to call you on it. I'm not doing it to have you say lose face, but organizationally, I'm going to do it. So here's a couple definitions for you. Organizational courage is acting with fear, not without it. It's doing the right thing when your stomach's in knots, and adrenaline's forcing you to act boldly and have that conversation. The other side of it is the assertive acting out of a belief or a principle and staying the course. Okay, saying that. Unfortunately, sometimes the autocratic leader takes that too far over and doesn't let the employees save face. We come back the other way. I'm saying that if you're going to do this and do this, is find that ability to let them save face. Just what I'm throwing out. This is one of those, and you can call it a number of different things. I can't cite it. I don't know where I got it from. I know it's been in our organization for about 10 years, but I couldn't cite it, and it makes me crazy because I can't figure out where it came from. Other than I know I got it from Sherry and I got it from Benny Click, but I can't cite it in any other way than that, and I've even tried Googling it. When we talk about this generation, and we're coming right up on 2, Scott. This is a good point, and then I'll go back to the slide. We're talking about this generation that we're dealing with right now is a significant part of who we deal with is just like this young man, or what he's about to describe.
For similar times, I think. I just feel like we may be going back to that, by the way. But in a way, good, because when I read things like the foundations of capitalism are shattering, I'm like, maybe we need that. Maybe we need some time where we're walking around with a donkey with pots playing on the sides.
You think it would just bring us back to reality?
Yeah, because everything is amazing right now, and nobody's happy. Like, in my lifetime, the changes in the world have been incredible. When I was a kid, we had a rotary phone. We had a phone we had to stand next to, and you had to dial it.
Yes.
You realize how primitive, you're making sparks. In a phone, and you actually actually would hate people with zeros in their numbers?
Okay, we'll stop it there for just a second. Those of us in this room have been around 30 plus years. And we see these young officers complaining about things today. And we go, they don't know how good they got it. Yeah? Spence? I mean, we didn't have radios or the big block radios, or they were in our car when we first started. And Spencer, I'd pick it on him because he used to work with me years ago. And so I'm going to let this play out because there's so much more. This truly is the generation was more.
Screw that guy.
You need to embrace this generation.
And then if they called and you weren't home, the phone would just ring lonely by itself. And then if you wanted money, you had to go in the bank. It was open for like 3 hours. You stay in line, race up a check like an idiot. And then when you ran out of money, you just go, well, I can't do any more things now. That's it, yeah. That was it. And even if you had a credit card, the guy would go, oh, and he'd bring out this whole shunk, and he'd ring. Yeah. So you had to call the president to see if he had any money.
You have to call the president, yeah. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
Do you feel that we now, in the 21st century, we take technology for granted?
Well, yeah, because now we live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots that don't care because this is.
Hey, we're not saying that, right? No, we're not saying that.
It won't. Give it a second. It's going to space. If you give it a second to get back from space. I was on an airplane and there was internet, high-speed internet on the airplane. That's the newest thing that I know exists. And I'm sitting on the plane.
Does anybody even know who he is? I'm sorry, I'm using his video. I can't think who he is. Somebody got it? I'm sorry? Louis C.K.? Thank you. I'll have to cite him now. But amazing. I think he hits it on the head. Now, honoring your time, especially after lunch, of course, I brought much, much more than I'll ever get through, but I'm going to go back. This is where we started. I'm going to go back. I'm going to end here. Okay, I'm going to tie this back here together, and I know how valuable your time is this afternoon, but I'm just going to go back and recap. As you leave here today, there's the Forrest Gumpish side of me. I can't let you leave without a tidbit. So please reflect on what your leadership style is. Do you have an organizational leadership style? Now, I'm not talking about this year we're chasing the mouse. This year we're doing that. This year we're doing that. Whatever your leadership style is personally and organizationally, embrace it. In our organization, and I'm not saying it's right, but it's helping, and we've gone up and down with it, we embraced one for the last 15 years, and Steve Hennessy gave it to us. Okay, whatever one you choose, make it part of your core. The problem-solving model that you have, my non-law enforcement people, there's a lot of them out there. Whatever one you embrace, if you have a conversation about a problem in a neighborhood, a school, an organization, be able to have a conversation about it and say, well, that's not too bad. Let me pull up a chair. Let's pull out a pen. Let's work on this. Because truly, there should be no problem that we can't solve. That's what we're good at. And it's not just jumping to the response and telling, it's asking, real important. And then the last one, I'm just going to suggest that you, whether it's active listening or whether it's Dr. George Thompson's material on LEAPS, I don't care which one it is, but have a listening model that you embrace, not that you just talk about, that you embrace. The reason I say that is that I have a very strong task-sided personality. I have to put my computer in my office so that I have to turn around when you walk in and face you and put the computer to the side because I have this tendency of typing while I'm talking to you. So I know that about myself, so I've got to put that away. So I remind myself the second phase of this is empathy. Empathy is focus. So I've got a model that keys off in my simple little mind that makes me get there. So as we finish this up, as we're about to go to the panel here, as we come up on the 2 o'clock mark, is there any questions that I can